when the vicars of Christ became princes of the world. The Renaissance, 14th to 17th centuries, was a time of art, humanism, and intellectual awakening. Yet while Europe reached for the heights of civilization, the spiritual leaders of Christendom often sank to shocking depths. The Renaissance popes, entrusted with guiding souls, frequently acted more like political schemers, warlords, and pleasure seekers than holy shepherds. Their behavior fanned the flames of corruption and ultimately ignited the Protestant Reformation. Sit tight as we dive into today's mystery. 1. Endorsing the slave trade. In 1453, Pope Nicholas V issued Dum Diversas, granting Portugal the right to enslave Muslims and non-Christians. 2 years later, he expanded that authority with Romanus Pontifex, giving Portugal a monopoly over African lands and their inhabitants. These papal bulls offered religious justification for slavery, presenting conversion as a form of charity, masking greed with piety. These documents helped pave the way for centuries of brutal transatlantic slavery and racism. Their echoes still felt long after abolition. 2. Nepotism on holy steroids. Pope Sixtus IV didn't just promote family members, he made nepotism a governing system. He created 34 new cardinals, including nephews with no qualifications. His favorite, Girolamo Riario, was handed control of the papal military. Critics accused Sixtus of handing out high offices to his lovers and described him as greedy, vain, and godless. When Sixtus tried to grab the Duchy of Ferrara for his nephew, his plans failed, and the war he provoked helped hasten his death. 3. Easter Sunday assassination plot. Backed by Pope Sixtus IV, his nephew Girolamo Riario conspired with the Puzzi family to assassinate Lorenzo de' Medici and his brother during Easter Mass in Florence's cathedral. Giuliano de' Medici was murdered at the altar, but Lorenzo escaped. The outrage shook Christendom, violence in a holy place, blessed by a pope. Sixtus even placed Florence under interdict, banning Mass and sacraments. The war that followed further exposed the Church's entanglement in power games. 4. The witch hunt begins. Pope Innocent VIII, a father of two, issued the infamous 1484 bull Summis Deciderans, authorizing Dominican Inquisitor Heinrich Kramer to hunt witches in Germany. Kramer and his colleague Johann Sprenger wrote the Malleus Maleficarum, the Hammer of Witches, a gruesome manual that sanctioned torture and execution. Once mild beliefs about witches turned into frenzied persecution, igniting centuries of brutality, all with papal blessing. 5. The Pope's mistress and her rise to power. Cardinal Rodrigo Borgia, later Pope Alexander VI, began an affair with Giulia Farnese, a teenage beauty married to another man. Once Pope, he brought her to Rome, showered her with gifts, and elevated her brother to cardinal, who later became Pope Paul III. When Giulia briefly left him, Alexander threatened her family with excommunication. When she was kidnapped, he paid her ransom without hesitation, reportedly saying she was his heart and soul. Their scandalous affair ended only years later, after she'd gained wealth and power. 6. The infamous Banquet of Chestnuts. According to Vatican official Johann Burchard, Alexander VI hosted a shocking orgy in the papal palace on October 30th, 1501. Dozens of courtesans disrobed in front of clergy while chestnuts were scattered for them to pick up with their mouths, amid laughter and lewd games. Whether exaggerated or not, the tale of the Banquet of Chestnuts has become synonymous with Vatican depravity. That many believed it true says everything about the papacy's reputation at the time. 7. The Warrior Pope. Pope Julius II wore armor under his robes and led armies into battle. Inspired by Julius Caesar, he fought to reclaim papal lands, conquering cities and forming shifting military alliances. He even appointed cardinals as field generals. Critics were aghast. Shouldn't the Vicar of Christ offer peace, not war? But Julius reveled in military glory, at the cost of the Church's spiritual authority. 8. A cardinal executed by papal order. Pope Leo X, a Medici, inherited the papacy as a young man and treated it like a playhouse, hosting parties, theatrical performances, and even owning a pet elephant. But in 1517, when Cardinal Alfonso Petrucci plotted to reclaim power in Siena, Leo accused him of conspiring to assassinate the Pope. Petrucci was tortured and eventually strangled by a Muslim executioner, as Christians were forbidden to kill a prince of the church. The evidence was shaky, and some say Leo used it as an excuse to remove rivals and fill the Curia with Medici loyalists. 9. Selling salvation. To fund his grand project, St. Peter's Basilica, Leo X turned to a moneymaker: indulgences. These certificates claimed to reduce time in purgatory for a price. Traveling salesman Johann Tetzel infamously declared, "As soon as a coin in the coffer rings, the soul from purgatory springs." Outraged, Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses to a church door in Wittenberg in 1517. This protest, sparked by the papacy's greed, ignited the Protestant Reformation and shattered Western Christendom. 10. The Pope and the Teenage Street Boy. In 1548, Cardinal Giovanni del Monte took a liking to a young illiterate boy he saw in a Parma marketplace. When he became Pope Julius III 2 years later, he adopted the boy in ascenso and named him a cardinal at age 17. The boy, unfit for the role, was placed in charge of Vatican diplomacy. Rumors swirled that Julius was romantically involved with him. Despite protests, the Pope defended his protégé. While the Church was reeling from the Reformation, its leader was indulging in what many viewed as scandalous favoritism, if not worse. Final thoughts. The Renaissance popes weren't just flawed, they were emblematic of a church that had lost its way. Their worldly ambitions, moral failings, and unholy alliances helped fracture the unity of Western Christianity and plunge Europe into religious upheaval. These tales are not just juicy history, they're sobering reminders of what happens when power overshadows principle. History isn't just about the past, it's about the choices we carry forward. Which of these moments shocked you the most and why? Feel free to leave your comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more mysteries like this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.